Good morning everyone, Quezon City back in action today. They're on Central Avenue issuing tickets to illegally parked vehicles. They don't have tow trucks with them today, but they can still issue tickets. Aside from cars, motorcycles and trucks, there are also a lot of double parked tricycles on that terminal over there. Some of the tricycles did try to drive away, but they're guiding them over now for tickets. In fact, aside from the double parking, they're all being ticketed because they can't show a terminal permit that proves they're actually allowed to be here. And you'll notice there's no line painted on the floor, which is what you'd usually find at a genuine terminal. In fact, just behind you'll see the pink tricycles. They're able to show a permit, they're able to show the line that's been painted by the city. So I think all of these tricycle drivers will be ticketed for making a terminal here. And this tricycle over here is actually going to be impounded. When the team arrived, he was double parked. He sped away that way, drove against the flow of traffic. They sent a rider and managed to catch him. And apparently he doesn't have, or allegedly he doesn't have a driver's license, so they're going to impound the vehicle. And you'll see the water's flowing pretty heavy over here because it has been raining so much for the last few days. Even just this morning, although it doesn't seem so bad right now. But yeah, it's actually quite nice to look at, to be honest. When you don't see any trash or anything like that, it's quite beautiful. And attorney Inton just advised them to remove this because it's not meant to be a terminal anyway. So any kind of structure that's been built to support that terminal should be removed. The thing is, they have to give priority to those who are following the rules. Those tricycle drivers who've got a license, they've got a franchise, they've got a permit, they have everything legal, you protect those drivers. Those that don't follow the rules, you don't show any consideration. On my recent video, people asked, aren't they just going to reinstall these obstructions when you leave? Well, that's the thing, this operation is being held by the city and it's in coordination with the barangay. So they tell the barangay, hey, we fixed this. If you do not maintain this, we're going to take action against you. So it should be effective, and some heads will roll if they don't maintain this. Somebody came forward now and showed the permit, and it really does show that they're meant to be on this side of the road, not over there, and maximum of 4 units. Well, that's a lot more than 4 units, and some of them have already left after being ticketed because they were double parked. So yeah, that's one of the downsides or problems with these permits, that once it's issued, they say, hey, we have a permit, and then they just do whatever they want, even if it's the wrong place, the wrong number of units. So again, this is a problem that they'll highlight to the barangay captain. He's over there somewhere, and advise him to maintain this. According to the TODA chairman, the reason why they're not on this side of the road is that they were scared away by a local resident or business owner.
Attorney Inton, West of Cardenas. Kayo daw po ay nagpapalit sa kanila dito. Totoo po ba yan?
Kasi ito mga picture ito.
Hindi po.
Nagbabayad po sa city.
Kahit na nagbabayad po yan, may permit sila dito. Hindi nyo po, kung gusto nyo paalisin to.
Wala pa naman permit nung una siguro. Kung may permit
pa sila.
Ano, magagawa natin dyan.
Asan si Presidente? Ito ha. Ayusin natin maigi to para hindi siya nahuli doon. Ang permit nila dito sa harap dito, pero 4 units at a time lang, para sa ganun hindi ka maapektuhan.
4 unit lang?
4 units. Pag lumampas yan ng 4, itimbre mo sa akin, pauhuli ko. Okay?
Wala naman, nakapila naman sa dito lagi. Wala naman problema.
Ito nga lang sabi sa inyo na nilalabas mo pa daw ng baril itong mga ito eh. Totoo ba yun?
Hindi totoo yan.
Okay, kung hindi totoo, okay na tayo dyan. Ngayon, alam ko pinoprotektahan mo to. Pag-aari mo ba ito?
Umuha pa sa'yo.
Umuha pa sa'yo? Hindi, itong lupa sa'yo. Okay. Sige, pagpalagay na natin sa yan. 4 units sa time lang dito. Pag lumabas yun ng 4 dito, sabihin mo sa
4 unit pare ha?
4 units lang.
Maliwanag po rito sa
permit. Ito ha? 4 units lang.
Pwede lumagpas po doon.
Ha? Pag lumampas sila doon, itimbre mo sa amin.
Pwede na lang Xerox copy.
Okay.
So there's actually 5 tricycles being impounded for various reasons, from no license to colorum, no registration. And you'll see the enforcers are riding them now. They'll take them to the impound area. Quezon City actually has its own impound area. One of those bikes is super noisy, so it's good it's being impounded. They've now moved on to fishery streets, and there's a lot of vehicles parked on both sides, making it into a very narrow road. So they're issuing tickets now and asking people to move their vehicles. Aside from those in the road, there's also some that are on the sidewalk, and as you saw there, that lady is walking in the road between all these vehicles. It's quite dangerous. Imagine children especially, where they're not so aware of their surroundings, and then they're forced to walk between a truck and a car. Who knows what could happen. They're also issuing a ticket to this motorcycle rider for having his bike on the sidewalk, and same for this truck here, obstructing what should be the sidewalk. And of course the ticketing continues further down the road also. Right now they're moving in on all of these vehicles. You can see obviously there's meant to be a sidewalk somewhere here. It's been converted to a parking ramp, and of course that's what people are using it for. So again, it's kind of, you know, as a driver you need to know you shouldn't obstruct the sidewalk. But then at the same time, the building shouldn't make it look like it's okay to park there. And they're also looking at this jeepney parked on the sidewalk here, completely obstructing it. One of the requirements to get your franchise for jeepneys, taxis, any kind of public utility vehicle is that you can prove you have your own private parking, so that it doesn't end up on the roads or the sidewalks at any point. The driver of the jeepney just handed over his license, so they were able to write out a ticket and ask him to move it somehow. If you look over here, you'll see another extended garage over the sidewalk. They're trying to get the attention of the owner now. You can look here at their neighbor. You can see where the original gate was. In fact, over there you can also see their original gate. But then at some point, there's been a wall built here, and very narrow space left for pedestrians. I don't think you could quite fit a wheelchair through there, maybe, but it's not in line with the rest of the sidewalks in this area. The driver of the vehicle came out now, so they're asking for his license, and they'll issue a ticket to this vehicle. And of course, after being ticketed, you have to move the vehicle. I thought that driver was going to reverse onto the road, but it looks like instead they're opening the gate and taking it inside. So I guess they had space on their private property all along. They just chose to park it here. Perhaps they have extra cars, but nonetheless, this is a sidewalk for pedestrians. It's not for parking. And right now they're looking at this one parked on the sidewalk. It looks like they do have an empty garage beside them. Apparently the driver of the previous one said he didn't park it inside because he didn't want to open up the gate late at night and disturb his family. The lady that came down from the house is very nice. She's just going to get her license now, no argument. And these are really, really nice houses. Whoever designed these, very nice, very well kept also. Right now they're looking at these two vehicles again parked on the sidewalk. Sidewalk is for pedestrians, it's not for parking. Again, the drivers came out to open a gate, and they'll be taking them off the sidewalk. And you'll see one of those cars being reversed into the driveway now. I do wonder why they didn't just put them there in the first place. Avoid tickets, avoid anyone potentially messing with the car, avoid causing any traffic or putting pedestrians into the road. And I've just noticed on the other side of the street, for some reason, someone's installed posts and a chain. But why would they do that? Because this isn't private property, this is a public sidewalk as far as I can see. Oh, in fact, apparently they have a team that will try and dismantle these posts. That's good, because yesterday and the day before they were assigned to different areas. So they've been designed that they can be pulled out, or at least some of them. So perhaps they're trying to use this as reserve parking, where they put down just a couple of posts and then park here. I'm not sure, maybe some local residents might know. So you're seeing is making very light work of the chain with those bolt cutters, and then they're using sledgehammers to bring up the posts. So they'll be taking away those posts to make sure they don't get reinstalled. Right now they're waiting for the driver of this one to come out and give their license so they can issue a ticket for parking on the sidewalk. Driver for this one came out, but she refused to hand over a license. So Dexter called in some MMDA, and they'll be doing it as unattended or non-contact, because Quezon City DPOS at the moment cannot issue a ticket without the license. So bring in a couple of MMDA, and the thing is, her ticket will now be much more expensive because it will have to be unattended illegal parking, refusal to surrender driver's license, so much more expensive, but that's just how it is. They stopped this motorcycle rider over here for not having a helmet. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a license either. He only has a student permit, and his vehicle was last registered in 2015. So they'll be confiscating the student permit and the plate, and they'll be forwarding it to LTO to hold it. So if he tries to register or get a driver's license, he'll have to pay his outstanding tickets first. They just stopped this motorcycle over here. Two very young riders, no helmet. Oh, there you go, no license either. This is a little unusual, but they're going to put the impounded motorcycle on the back of their pickup truck because they don't have a tow truck, so they will take it to their impound area. They're going to tie it down to make sure it won't get damaged. The problem with this is the driver really didn't have a license, he didn't have any kind of ID with him, didn't have any ORCR papers, and it only has a temporary handwritten plate number. So that's why they really had no choice but to impound this, because how can you write out a ticket? Right now they're trying to scoop out all this water. There's ongoing works here. I think it must be sewer system, right? Based on the size of these pipes here. And it's flooded because of the recent rains. It's now a few hours later and look who's here. New mayor, Mayor Belmonte. She is doing it's not a clearing operation, it's more of an inspection and communication with residents, with vendors, with marketplaces. So right now we're actually in front of the Abra Congressional Market, and this man here they're speaking to is the barangay captain. And as I was about to say, they need to try and, you know, find a balance. Instead of always fighting, try and get people on their side so they can do their job themselves at the barangay level, and so residents and vendors and everyone would do their part. So hopefully they will find that balance. So over here is Congressional, and you might remember before this whole area was occupied, and now it's being cleared as a walkway for pedestrians. But one of the things they're doing is speaking to them about, hey, where can we put you? Where's an alternative space? Because if you don't provide an alternative space, and there's a lot of people that were doing their living here, of course you're going to struggle to keep them away. So that's one of the things they're talking about is, did the barangay find you an alternative place? What will it take? Is there rent involved? Is it government property? Do we need to find somewhere? So this is the kind of thing that you don't really see. Like on TV you'll see a clearing, but then not so often do you see the other side of it, where they're communicating and saying, hey, what can we actually do to make this work for you, so that everyone comes out this as a winner. The mayor's now talking about calling in an assessor to see if this is an encroachment over public property, government property. So over there, running this way, is a piece of land that they're looking at, and down here is the San Juan River. And look at it, it's really got a heavy current today. In fact, just earlier, a few hours ago, the PRRC sent me a video of some of their people rescuing 3 children that were swimming in the Pasig River and then got pulled away by the current, nearly drowned, because they don't understand like how strong a current can be, and luckily they were saved. Anyway, it's quite refreshing to see that it's a relatively small group with the mayor. Most of these people here, they're from the barangay. There's just a few QCPD here for security, and they might even be from the local area. A lot of the time, if there's a VIP on the road, you will see a huge convoy, and that's not the case here. So what they're saying is that they're pretty confident this is government land, but what they're questioning is whether this property or this property have encroached onto it, because according to the barangay, it should actually be in line with the road over there, which means that this would be much wider on this side and a little bit wider over there. So what they've instructed the barangay to do is to basically find out if this 100% is government land, and if it is, how wide should it actually be, and then if they need to recover some of this property on either side, they'll do that, and then submit a plan for a market building and parking for residents and market goers, because if you look at that road over there, Abra Road, there's a lot of illegal parking. So they want to try and find a solution. Same with the vendors, you have to put them somewhere. The market just isn't big enough. So if this really is government property, they can develop it into something rather than just letting it sit and go to waste. Another thing they can consider is a barangay health center or something like that. Although another thing that should be considered is that residents who have houses, they should build their own private parking and not buy a car if they don't have parking. Don't expect, oh, the government will find a space for me, because a lot of the time they won't be able to. So really, if you own a car and you have a house, you should, you know, if you have to, knock down one of your bedrooms and make it into a car park space, because it's your responsibility as a car owner. What the barangay chairman is asking is, how about if we just temporarily let the vendors occupy one of the smaller side streets, so at least they won't be on Congressional or EDSA. Of course, the problem with that proposal is that that's exactly what they tried in Manila City before, where they said, okay, we'll give you 1 meter for specific hours or specific days, and it never really worked. It was never enforced. All day, every day, they occupied this side, they occupied that side, then all the tricycles and motorcycles parked. So it's a proposal from the chairman, but I'm not sure if it would necessarily be approved, because it's not in line with clearing the roads and sidewalks, even if it's just a temporary solution or a temporary proposal. So here's another parcel of land that they were considering. using if possible, but looks like this is private property, so they would have to make an offer for this if ever they wanted to use it. So what they're saying is they want to try and reach the owner of this lot and just ask them if they would be willing to let people park here. Of course there could be some kind of payment involved just until they develop this, because right now the property doesn't appear to be in use, and this could be like a temporary area until they build up the other one that you saw earlier. So that guy over there with the glasses is actually an urban planner from the city, and that's why he's here with the mayor, so that when they go around he can, you know, immediately say whether an idea is good or not based on his experience. So always useful to take the right people on the job. I can't remember if I mentioned exactly where we are. Barangay Raymond Magsaysay. You see right now one of the BPSO just asked them to remove their items from the road. I hope they're doing that even when the mayor isn't here. This road here is kind of chaos. You see parking both sides, sidewalks, certainly something that needs to be improved. The road they're on right now definitely has room for improvement. Vehicles parked both sides on the sidewalks. There's some stools in the road. There's poop left on the road. Over here you'll see garbage. So these all highlight things that the barangay needs to do a better job on, and this is exactly why the mayor is going around, so she can see it for herself and then ask them, what are you doing or what are you not doing, because what we're looking at right now is not very impressive. These inspections are not announced, they just turn up and go around. So what they see is how things really are, because if you warn the barangay in advance, when you get here everything will look amazing, and then when you leave everything goes back to normal. So these inspection lets us see how things really are on the ground. So right now they're advising them that of course this isn't allowed, this is meant to be a sidewalk, so remove this stuff off the sidewalk before they have to submit a clearing team here. And same thing over here, saying there's no problem having a business, but do it on the private property, not here on the sidewalk or in the road. Just saw a cute little puppy down here as well. Hello baby! Oh, angry. Okay. Mayor Joy actually has a very soft and pleasant way of talking to people, but I'm sure if they don't comply, she's going to become firmer. In fact, I heard just earlier that they inspected another barangay and the captain wasn't so cooperative, so she warned him, in 60 days either you're suspended or I'm suspended, so do the job. So right now they're in Barangay Bahay Toro, and if you're wondering what all of these containers are for, these are temporary offices for barangays that have been affected by clearing operations, because you know a lot of the barangay buildings have been built on sidewalks or other places they shouldn't be, so they have all of these containers here ready to act as temporary offices until they find an alternative. And if you look carefully you'll see that each one is actually hooked up with electricity, and potentially you could put a window type aircon unit in there, although not quite so important during the rainy season. Let's have a little look through that hole and see what's inside. I expect it's just empty, but let's take a look. In fact, this one over here has a lot of stuff in already, so perhaps this is one that they're getting ready to fit out. You see a drink machine there, a water cooler, some chairs, tables. So yeah, this is kind of how it would look, but of course a little bit neater. From what I understand, this is actually private property, but they've come to some kind of agreement with the owner of the land to put all of these containers here, and they're ready to be used. So it's already getting late, you can see it's dark out. I think that will be the end of today's video, so thank you for watching.